In today's math lesson, while discussing the slope-intercept form, we are going to write an equation from a word problem. We have learned from previous lessons that the slope-intercept form of an equation is y equals mx plus b. When analyzing a word problem, we need to know what is being represented with the slope and the y-intercept. So that's pretty easy to figure out once you realize that the slope is a pattern. It's something that happens again and again and again in the story, while the b is what they had at the start of the story. This is your y-intercept. It happens just one time in that story. A hint to help us out. If you can figure out which number is the pattern, well, that means that the other number has to be the start. Okay, so words that tell us that this is probably the pattern number are words like per, or each, or every. So those are just a couple of those words, but you're looking for something that's going to happen again and again and again and again in order to tell you this is the pattern that we're looking for. Example 1. Irene takes 3 quizzes each week. Write an equation that shows the relationship between the number of weeks x and the total number of quizzes y. We have learned that in the slope-intercept form of the equation, that the slope can be represented with a pattern, while the y-intercept is represented with something that happened at the start, at the very beginning of your story. Let's go look at our story. So Irene takes 3 quizzes each week, and this is the only number that we know. Okay, so we have to decide, is this a pattern that happens again and again? Or is this something that she's already done and it's over? Well, we have a word here. This is each. And each is one of our hint words. It tells us that it's going to happen again and again and again and again. So we know that 3 must be the pattern. Great. So we don't even have something that she's already done at the beginning of this story. This is just going to be y equals 3, as my pattern is the m, 3x. And we don't know of anything else that has already happened, so this is all that our equation needs to be. And there you go. Example 2. Candace walks 7 kilometers during each trip to school. Write an equation that shows the relationship between the number of trips x and the total distance that she has walked y. We know that in our slope-intercept form of the equation, y equals mx plus b, that m is the pattern. It happens again and again, while b is something that happened already at the start of this story. Let's go look at our story. So Candace walks 7 kilometers during each trip to school. Okay. 7 is the only number that we have. And we know that it happens each trip to school. So again, we have our hint word. Because I have this hint word of each, it's happening again and again and again, we know that this 7 is the pattern. We don't know if she's already walked somewhere else. We don't know how many times she's already done this. So we just have a discussion of what's happening with m, the slope, the pattern. Therefore, our equation will be y equals 7x. And there you go. Example 3. Mike already owns 3 stamps, and additional stamps are priced at 1 per dollar. Write an equation that shows the relationship between the money spent and the additional stamps x versus the total number of stamps y. So we already know that our slope-intercept form of the equation has m being the pattern of behavior that happens again and again and again in our story, while B is something that happened at the start. It's already happened at the beginning of some event. Okay, let's read our story. So Mike already owns 3 stamps. This has already happened, 3. And additional stamps are priced at 1 per dollar. 1. Okay. So we know that a pattern is something that happens again and again, and we have a hint word of per, which means that this 1 is going to be our pattern. As Mike plans to purchase 1 stamp and another stamp and a 3rd stamp and a 4th stamp, he's going to purchase and purchase stamps. So we also know that this 3 stamps has already happened. It says so right there. Mike already owns them. Therefore, at the start of this particular story, we know that this 3 has occurred. Let's write our equation. Y equals the pattern of 1x plus the 3 that has already been acquired. So you can write it just like this with the 1 for the slope, or you can clean this up just a little bit where we remember from previous lessons that when you have 1 as your slope, you do not have to show it. It is understood. Therefore, you would write y equals x plus 3. Either way it goes, they mean the exact same thing. It just depends on your teacher or your digital platform's preference. And there you go. Example 4. Danielle has already prepared 4 kilograms of dough and will continue preparing 1 kilogram. Nope, not. Using our slope-intercept form of the equation to help us as a guide, remembering that M, the slope, is the pattern, and B, the y-intercept, is where we start. Let's go find out what's in this story. So Danielle already has prepared 4 kilograms of dough. All right, so there's a number, 4 kilograms. And we'll continue preparing 1 kilogram, there's another number, of dough every hour. So let's write that equation. Okay, so 1 kilogram of dough every hour, 4 kilograms already. We saw earlier in the lesson hint words like every. So this is our hint. And as a result, we know that the number that goes with that every, which is 1, this 1 is our pattern. Because she's going to make 1 kilogram again and again and again for every hour that she's doing the work in the kitchen. Okay. And we have learned that already, so at the start of our story, things have already happened. So that's our y-intercept. This 4 is the start. Okay. So now that we have that, let's write our equation. Y equals our pattern of 1x plus our starting value that's already happened of 4. And we remember from previous lessons that this 1 in front of the x is not necessary to write. And if you have a teacher or a platform that doesn't want you showing that, then you would say, okay, the 1 can be understood if there is no number in front of the x, thus giving us y equals x plus 4 as our final equation, knowing that both of these mean the same thing. And there you go. Example 5. Haley has already run 3 miles on her own, and she expects to run 6 miles during each track practice. Write an equation that shows the relationship between the practices and the distance. Since we know that our slope M is the pattern of something that happens again and again, while our y-intercept B is something that happened at the start of our story, let's use this setup to help us write our equation. Haley has already run 3 miles on her own and expects to run 6 miles during each track practice. Okay, our 2 numbers are 3 and 6. Remembering that a hint word will tell us about the pattern. Do you know where the hint word is? Is it already or is it each? It's each. Our hint word to tell us that something is happening again and again is each. So each day. So on Monday, 6 miles. On Tuesday, 6 miles. On Wednesday, 6 miles. The girl can run. All right. So 6 is our pattern, which means that something that has already happened at the start of the problem, that would be the 3 miles that she has already run. So this is our start. Let's go ahead and write the equation now. So y equals our slope, our pattern of 6x, plus the 3 miles that she has already done, our y-intercept. And there you go. Warning. Okay, you have to read the story very carefully. You may end up with some patterns that will be negative. So I've created a 6th and final problem for us to look at to show what a negative pattern might be. Example. So Bree has 24 cookies and she plans to give 3 cookies to each friend. 3 of them to each friend. What's happening here? So we know that our numbers are 24 and 3. Great. And we know that our hint word is each. This is our hint. And since 3 is the pattern as a result of the hint, we know that 24 is what she had at the start. Okay. But we are giving things away. 24 cookies is what she has at the start of this story. This is what she has in her hand. When you have something, that is a positive number. And then she is giving away 3 to each cookie. 3 to each friend. And if you are giving them away, that is a negative action. All right. Let's write our equation. Y equals, since we are giving things away, this is a negative decreasing action. That means our slope is negative 3x, as we put in our variable. And we have 24 cookies. So to have them at the beginning, that is a positive. I am holding them in my hand. So plus 24. Therefore, the equation for our little story of having 24 cookies and then I'm giving 3 to each friend, that means our equation will be y equals negative 3x plus 24. And there you go.